Well, hello everybody, welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Now today I'm going to try and make something a little bit more complicated than I usually do. It's called a Peekaboo Cake, and what it is 4 layers of sponge. 2 layers are with almonds and almond extract, and 2 layers are with some pink colouring and a little bit of rose water. And the idea is that when you've got one layer, you cut the middle out and then you cut a larger circle out, so you have each layer in 3 pieces, and then you take one pink layer of this size and lay it into the cake, one of the almond cakes, and you take the almond layer and lay it into the pink cake. So you have almond, pink, almond twice on 2 layers, and pink, almond, pink on 2 layers. Then you put them all together with some apricot jam, and lo and behold, you have a checkerboard cake when you cut it. That's the theory. You then put some marzipan over the top of the whole thing just to finish it off. So I'm going to try it. It may work, it may not. I'll try to insert a picture at this point from somebody else's recipe, which is on the BBC Good Food website, so you can see what it's supposed to look like. You'll then be able to compare it with what I come up with, assuming I come up with anything at all. So for the first 2 sponges, the almond sponges, we have 225 grams of very soft butter, 225 grams of golden caster sugar, 225 grams of self-raising flour, 3 large eggs. In the United States that would be 1 size up from large, 85 grams of ground almonds, and in here I have half a teaspoon of almond extract, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 tablespoon of milk. I just thought they'd all fit in there. I don't need to wash 3 different dishes afterwards. So what we have to do is put all our ingredients into the mixer. Now these ingredients are remarkably similar to the ingredients for the pink cake. The only difference is that the pink cake has instead of almond extract, it has rose water, and it has some pink colouring. But I'll show you those as I do those. So what we have to do is mix this until it's all combined. I don't think we're supposed to over mix it, so I'm going to try not to. I'm going to scrape it down. Then we'll mix it a bit more. And I think that's enough. Now, what the instructions for this recipe say is that you have to be very precise. They say you have to weigh your mixture and divide it exactly half and half into these 2 18 centimetre cake tins. 18 centimetres is about 7 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the batter off this paddle. Now this, I can't weigh the mixture in this bowl simply because the bowl on the scale is very uneven and the scale will malfunction. So I'm going to scrape it into another bowl and then weigh the mixture. So the first thing I'm going to do is to put the bowl on the scales so that it registers at 0. Then I'm going to quickly put the mixture in. And I have in the bowl 926. So 926 grams is 463 grams for each one. So I'm going to take some out of here until the scale reads 423, and that will go into the other one. Now I've greased these tins, and I have also got the oven preheating to 160 Celsius. That's 140 Celsius with a fan, which is about 300 Fahrenheit. So I said 463, didn't I? It's 462. Yep, 463. So then what I'm going to do is take a spatula and spread this around, and that's going to be my half. Now I may be 1 gram out, but if this recipe fails for the lack of 1 gram, I will be mightily annoyed. It's rather more likely to fail because I've messed it up, of course. So that's it. Now I'm going to put those in the oven, assuming the oven has reached temperature. And it has, just slightly over in fact. And I'm going to bake them for 30 minutes or until they're firm to the touch and their skewer in the centre comes out clean. Then I'm going to let them cool down so I can take them out of these tins, wash the tins, and I'll be back with you to show you those cakes and to do the next lot of mixture. Okay, so now I'm back with you, and I have the 2 sponges out of the oven and cooling. And so now we go on to the second set of sponges, and the ingredients are exactly the same in terms of 225 grams of butter, 225 grams of golden caster sugar, 225 grams of self-raising flour, 3 large eggs, 85 grams of ground almonds. Then comes the difference. We've still got 1 tablespoon of milk, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, but now we've got a teaspoon of rose water. I'm a little bit suspect about the rose water because I read that sometimes, well, depending on how much you pay, there's a difference in the quality, which I think means a difference in the strength. And later on, when we do the jam between the various layers, we put rose water in that as well. So I'm umming and ahhing as to whether or not I'm going to put any rose water in the jam. I don't want it to overpower things, and you often see on these cookery shows where there's too much rose water. So into the bowl goes all our ingredients again. We've still got the oven hot. One of those large eggs look like a double yolker. I hope that doesn't make a difference. I've just lost some butter there. Take it out and put it back where it came from. Our ground almonds go in, and our milk, rose water and vanilla extract. So we mix those together again as before. Right, now with the pink colouring, it tells you that in baking it often loses some of its colour. So you might want more than you actually think, but you start off with a little. I wonder if that's a little. That's still not very pink. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't go pink, because I've got some red colouring as well that I can use. But I'm going to put more in, see what happens to that. Well, it's getting there, but it's still nowhere near pink enough. So I've probably put twice as much in again now. Well, it is pink, there's no doubt about it, but being as there's not much in here, I'm going to put the whole lot in and see what happens to that. That's nowhere near pink enough. Right. So, somewhere here we have a little bit of red. Let's see what that does. Right, I think that's it. That's as pink as I'm going to go. So, the next thing to do is as before. Weigh our batter. Whoops, made a mess there. And I think I've beaten this too much. Which may have the effect of making the sponge rise too much. But we shall see what we shall see. I'm going to stir this in to get the colour fairly even. That's about done. Okay, so these will go into the oven for 30 to 35 minutes and we'll take them out and cool them. Now once they've cooled for 15 minutes they can be taken out of the tins and left to cool completely. After they've cooled completely they need to be covered gently with some cling film or something and put in the fridge for 30 minutes to firm up, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut them, and you don't want them breaking up as you cut them because they're too soft, so you'll firm them up in the fridge and they'll cut easier. So I'll be back with you after these have cooled and been refrigerated, and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so I'm back with you, and here's our cakes, duly chilled, 4 of them, and now we've got to cut them up and then put them back together again. So, because we've got an 18 centimetre cake, hopefully, we need a ring at 8 centimetres, sorry, at 12 centimetres, and a ring at 6 centimetres. So that's one. And the reason for chilling these, of course, is that it should be easier to cut them. That's 2. They may be a little bit lopsided when I've cut these. That's out. And what I've also got is almost a jar of apricot jam, which I've melted slightly on the cooker, and I did decide I would put the extra, or the 2nd teaspoon of rose water in, since it asked for it. I ought to have faith, I suppose. So now we've got all of these. What we have to do now is, in a white one like that, we've got to place one of our pink ones like that, and then one of our white ones again like that. Then we're going to take our melted apricot jam and coat the cake like that. Then we take one of our pink rings and we place it on the top, like that. Take one of our white rings, place that in the middle, take another pink one, and we repeat the process until we've used all of the cakes. And then when we've got all our cakes like that, and this, I can see this one is slightly smaller than the one below it, as is the other pink one. Then what we've got to do is coat the entire thing with jam. So the next thing to do is to roll out some marzipan. Now I've got two 500 gram packets here, which is, I think is rather more than I need. But this, any that's left over can go in the fridge and can be used at another time. And this is white, so it's a natural coloured marzipan rather than the yellow colour. So what I'm going to do is just sprinkle some icing sugar on here, and I need to roll this out until it's about a 16 inch circle, so that it will go over the cake. Now I've measured that by getting some string and putting it down the side, over the top and down the side. So I know I need about 16 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is to press this together and get it into a big ball, and just work it a couple of times to soften it. And then if I get it into a disc to start with, I'm part way there, because I'm not very good at rolling. You have to keep turning it. Apparently. Try and get a circle. So then I have my marzipan rolled, and it's just about the right size. So now I'm going to try to put it over the top and then mould it as best I can around the cake. So I bring that into the centre. And then I need to get a knife and cut round it. take off the excess again. And there is our cake. Now, so that's quite a lot of marzipan left over, which I can reuse for something else. So there's the cake. I've pressed down, and then I'm just going to do a little pattern all the way around. Like that. And there we are. So that's our cake. So what I'm going to do, if I risk it, is I'm going to cut it and see what we've got. Just cut that bit down there a bit better, I think. Because that's come away. So I'm just going to knock this off and taste that. And there is our checkerboard. Now, if you put that back in the fridge covered up, it will firm the jam up a little bit so that it will stick better and it will cut very nicely. So all in all, I'm quite pleased with that. I hope you've enjoyed watching me do it, even though I did make a bit of a mess. And I hope that you'll click to subscribe. At the end of this video, there's a button where you can click to subscribe so that you can see any other videos that I make. And I'll be back with you fairly soon with another video. In the meantime, happy baking.